0810 from last year. The author is Ivo Lavetti from Germany. Subject, the definition in the West Framework Directive, and obviously on procedure. Firstly, time for the petitioner, Mr. Ivo Lavetti. 5 minutes, please.
Sehr geehrte Damen und Herren, vielen Dank.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak here today. From my work, 30 years of preparation on reuse and recycling since the introduction of the 5 levels of waste and the hierarchy for that, I have to say from my point of view that neither in the European Parliament nor in the Commission anyone has a specific idea of how the waste hierarchy is to be implemented. There's a lack of understanding that the avoidance of waste isn't the first thing in the waste hierarchy. It's basically impossible because avoiding waste is a measure within the product regime, and the waste hierarchy, according to Article 31, is on the priorities in dealing with waste streams. So there has to be waste in order for us to be able to deal with the specific waste. And then the waste has to be dealt with in accordance with how it has been prepared. If I want to, if I reuse the waste, then I'm not avoiding waste, but I'm avoiding reuse, and so it's a question of the volume of waste that's being dealt with. So one is avoiding waste, all of the measures that we have to avoid waste, and that's part of the product systems. And then we have the question of the waste hierarchy in connection with the waste which has been produced. And we originally had a 3-step hierarchy, but now we have 5 steps. But now we're doing exactly the same thing as we did before the 3. We're getting all of this waste and just putting it into the recycling. If we recycle products, then we're damaging them in such a way that we can't reuse them. And that is something that we see with the last change to the conditions. 15A was introduced. And there it talks about reusing the substances or components, and these things are not put at the same level. So recycling is reusing some of the materials, but reuse is a part of avoiding waste as a part of the waste system. And this is something which has to be presented better in the concepts, because they're under avoidance. It says productions that can be reused are products that aren't waste. And it should say that they aren't waste anymore, because this avoidance at the tip of the pyramid is part of the preparation. Because if we're talking about waste that has been produced, what the preparation for reuse, I mean, what can you expect if it's not avoidance? There's no other objective than avoidance. And so I really have a problem with the wording within the provisions of a waste hierarchy has to start that you start with avoiding produced waste, so that it's clear to everyone that we're trying to avoid producing this waste, that there are countries within the EU that isn't clear. It can be seen if we look at Austria, because they don't start, they are with avoidance, but with waste avoidance, and that's just wrong. You can't have a waste hierarchy that's based on the system and start with the avoidance of waste, because that comes from the product regime. So we really need improvements. We need to make sure that the concepts are drafted in such a way so that everyone can understand them. We need resources from the European Commission for this, and also from the member states, because otherwise it's simply not going to work. We can't reduce the waste if we don't have very clear statements about what is to be done when. And perhaps I could move on very briefly to the next, but in the communication, the Commission said on the VAT that the VAT for used objects is set out in Article 4 of the VAT system, and has the special provisions for used goods. Basically, it is true that the VAT system does say that all services and goods need to be taxed, but in Article 1 of the tax provisions, it says that this can be used right down to the retail level. And the avoidance of waste is in, and this comes after that retail level, once people have already paid for an item with tax. And if items are being used, there should no longer has to be VAT on them, but that cannot be the case because the special rules mean that they should be exempt. Thank you very much.
Das ist sehr interessante deutsche.
That's a very interesting dilemma, a sort of German-Austrian dilemma, I think.
Bernd, take a floor, please.
Honourable members, ladies and gentlemen, the petitioner claims that waste prevention, repair and reuse is only taking place on a limited scale in the European Union. In the petitioner's view, this is because of unclear definitions in Directive 2008/98 EC on waste, the Waste Framework Directive. The petitioner thus proposes to amend the definitions and argues that this would increase waste prevention in the EU. The petitioner also proposed that goods given away free of charge as waste by their previous owners are not made subject to value-added tax, VAT, when sold by traders as second-hand goods. The petitioner argues that waste prevention is aimed at recovering as much waste as possible. However, as indicated in Article 3.12 of the directive, prevention takes place before an item has become a waste. The issue of stimulating waste prevention is very complex, and barriers to increasing waste prevention activities will not disappear by merely changing the definitions of the directive. The Waste Framework Directive obliges member states to have specific waste prevention programs in place already since 2013. And the directive was last amended in 2018, and this amendment significantly strengthened provisions on waste prevention, for instance, by expanding the measures member states have to take to stimulate waste prevention as part of these waste prevention programs. It, for instance, requires member states to take measures to encourage the setting up of systems promoting repair and encourage the reuse of products. The key there is in the scaling up, and we need, in order to do so, we need strategies and economic instruments to scale up waste prevention within the EU. Furthermore, the directive also includes an annex which gives best practices to member states of measures they can take on waste prevention to stimulate this in their member states. In accordance with the principle of subsidiarity, it is up to the member states to decide which key measures they will take that best fit their member state. The European Environment Agency monitors progress made in the completion and the implementation of these waste prevention programs. These reports are available on the EA's website. We need to give member states time to implement the strengthened provisions from the 2018 amendment and monitor the impacts of this amendment. Also, for future policy, the waste prevention remains of key importance to the Commission. Reducing waste generation is, for instance, an important pillar of the Circular Economy Action Plan of the Commission that was presented in March 2020. The Commission has committed in the Circular Economy Action Plan to systematically consider mainstreaming prevention objectives in the upcoming reviews of EU waste legislation, for example, in upcoming reviews of rules on packaging and on vehicles. The Commission has furthermore proposed an eco-design for sustainable products regulation, which proposes to take further measures to design products sustainably, ensuring that they are durable, reusable and repairable. Regarding the petitioner's points on VAT, the principle of a common VAT entails the application to goods and services of a general tax on consumption exactly proportional to the price of the goods and services. It's thus the basic principle of VAT that increases in value are to be taxed at every level of trade. In the absence of a purchasing price, the margin is equal to the selling price, reflective of the profit made by the trader. Anyone who carries out in any place or economic activity, any economic activity qualifies as a taxable person. VAT, general consumption tax, aims at covering all taxable transactions irrespective of their objective or context. For VAT to apply, it is thus irrelevant to what the increase in value is due. In conclusion, and as explained in previous correspondence with the petitioner, the Commission services have had with the petitioner, waste prevention is a priority for the Commission and a pillar of the new Circular Economy Action Plan. Current waste legislation already calls upon Member States to take targeted measures to limit waste generation, and it already gives best practices in this regard. In line with the principle of subsidiarity, it is up to the Member States to choose which measures work best in their specific circumstances. The Commission will then monitor the implementation of the amendment from 2018, and under the initiatives announced in the Circular Economy Action Plan, the Commission is examining further measures to enable, facilitate and stimulate waste prevention regarding specific waste streams, such as packaging and vehicles. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you. My question to our members who want to take a floor in this issue, Mr. Kanev and Madam Maestre Martin de Almagro.
Thank you very much. Just briefly, once again, it's on behalf of Alexander Bernhuber as our rapporteur. I would like to thank the petitioner for bringing up the important matter. I'm happy to inform that under the initiatives announced in the Circular Economy Action Plan, the Commission is examining further measures to enable, facilitate and stimulate waste prevention. Furthermore, here in the European Parliament, we have also voted in favor on a new Circular Economy Action Plan. So I think these questions raised by the petitioner are very much open in our agenda, and they are open as priority questions, which means the petition should also be kept open till we work on them, because it contains quite precious information on our priorities anyway. So I support keeping the petition open.
Благодаря. And now Señora diputada, take the floor, please.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much. I agree that the circular economy plan, as important as the one that we're looking at here in the context of the European Green Deal, and with the strong will of the majority to move towards waste prevention, is always open to revision and improvement. It's true that in 2008 it was revised, and as the representative of the Commission has said, it's still necessary for the Commission itself to carry out an assessment to see how member states are transposing the measures on the basis of this principle of subsidiarity. I therefore believe that since there are procedures for participation on the part of citizens and not just the member states, the petitioner's proposals should be incorporated. I invite them to make use of their right to put proposals to the Commission. And I think also that we should be promoting and we should suggest that this debate should be shared with the Envy Committee of the European Parliament and with the European Commission itself when it comes to committing ourselves to keeping an active revision of things and again, keeping the 2018 measures under scrutiny so as to make sure that we move forward as quickly as possible. So let's keep this open. But for instance, we could have a shared hearing between Petty and Envy. It's just an idea. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Quite a polyglot you are, sir. You speak several languages. Dankeschön, Bogdalarjuvas, muchas gracias. Well, particularly thanks are due to the petitioner. Really, if these citizens were not really worried about how things are evolving and looking at things of substance, we would not making headway in politics either, because it's precisely thanks to the time that you have devoted to this that we can take a fresh look at this. We, the members of this committee, should thank you for the time that you've devoted to this and preparing this much better than any of us, because you do have tremendous knowledge on this matter of waste. This is something, obviously, that the last legislation we looked at, unfortunately, came up. It ended with a measure from our country where we were more worried about how to get rid of waste rather than reusing it. And this is why this is very important. I think that IMCO should also be taking a look at this, to look at the tax repercussions of this, not just the environmental impact, but also in internal market, to see how this future revision could pan out. Thank you.
Muchas gracias. Thank you very much for your nice words, but for me it's an example of your sense of humor, rather. Thank you. And come back to our petitioner, Mr. Lavatti. 2 minutes. Yeah, take a floor, please. Summary.
Ja, so geht's.
The previous speaker from the Commissioner, in the comments that he made, was very precise, and I think that everyone understood it. Talked about avoiding waste. He did not talk about avoiding the production of the waste. It's two different fields. The Commission is trying to avoid the production of waste, but the hierarchy says that the priority should be given to reuse. So it's a question of avoiding produced waste and not at the moment, people are just focusing on avoiding waste, and all of all of the waste that's produced is being recycled. It's great for the recycling industry, but it doesn't help us at all, because what we should be doing is avoiding its production in the first place. I don't know where all of these goods go. I mean, they get recycled somewhere in some sort of mysterious way. It's only partly okay, but the waste hierarchy says that they should be being prepared for reuse, and I really want to stress this. I think that this is something that has to be worked on, and that's something I expect from the Commission as well. Things have to be prepared for reuse, and with the VAT system, it's exactly the same. I mean, they're always taxing the gap, but if you take used items, there's a special provision, and that provision says that the object shouldn't be used anymore as a basis for VAT. And if I don't have a business, then you can't tax it because there's no basis for that. And so and that money is the money that we need in order to be able to carry out these measures.
Kein Problem. Gerne.
Danke.
I'm sorry that you only had 2 minutes.
And final conclusion, everyone suggests continuity of our work for this petition, and my final conclusion and proposal is petition is open. Thank you.